Hello and welcome to Riley and Leo's Creighton Prep Sports broadcast.
Today we will be focusing on CP wrestling and football and how these sports have changed over the years.
Later in the podcast, we will have an interview from past wrestler and current coach of the wrestling team, Andrew Fisher.
We will also have a past football player and coach, Mr. Fife, and a head football coach, Coach Yost.
We asked them about their experiences as an athlete at Prep and their experiences as a coach at Prep and how the two sports have evolved over the years.
Before we get to the interviews, we want to go over how these seasons went for the football and wrestling teams.
The football team lost to Papio South in the first round of the playoffs after finishing runner-up last year.
Here's Coach Yost on this past football season. All right, for the first question, can you describe what an average practice is like this year, and did it differ in any way from the way Mr. Nizzi ran practice last year?
Practice is very similar to the way Coach Nizzi ran it because Coach Nizzi is a great coach. I do some things differently. As we incorporated music into practice, I think it loosens the kids up. We have it's just, everybody's a little more relaxed and that kind of thing. But as far as practice structure goes, we went a little shorter than Coach Nizzi, but I think we were a little more efficient. So, technically it's basically the same practice with a few wrinkles.
What is your opinion on all the new rules with hitting in practice time this year?
It's a tough adjustment. I've been doing this 20 years, so, the way I grew up and the way I've been coaching is to put on helmets and pads and knock the crud out of each other for a couple hours. Well, that's not the way it is anymore, and I think it's a good move. It's tough for old guys like me to adjust to it, but it's a good move as far as player safety and player development. So, less hitting is a good thing. I think in the long run for the guys' overall health, it's tough to teach to be. It's hard to be physical when you can't be physical. You know what I mean? So we worry about that a little bit. But if everybody's following the rules like they're supposed to, it comes out even in the end.
What were your team's strengths and weaknesses this year, and how did injuries affect the season?
Strengths, I don't know. We were kind of spread. We had a lot of injuries on the offensive line that really hurt us. We didn't have one starting offensive line that was the same from game to game, and we played 9 games. And when you don't have if you know anything about football, not having an offensive line that's worked together is tough.
Yeah.
So that hurt us. Our strengths were, we were gritty. We were tough. We were just banged up, and we were a little bit. We weren't very deep in position, so that hurt us in the end. But it wasn't for lack of effort. It was lack of talent, and we had to play some young guys who, frankly, shouldn't have been at the varsity level, but had to step up.
What was the biggest difference between this year and last year when the team made it to the state championship game?
Without being, critical of this year's team, that group from the state championship was very tight. They were very focused. They were very goal oriented. This group was a little less tight. Was a little less together. Not quite as athletically talented, and that's God-given ability. So you can't really fault them for that. So I don't want to badmouth this year's group. It was just a different dynamic.
And for the last one, what are your expectations and concerns for next year?
Expectations are win a state championship. If you're not gonna go into the season expecting to win, why bother showing up? So concerns. I'm not really concerned other than I just want everybody to buy in. We need to have a great off season. That's what we're working on right now. So from when you come in August, you're not going to win games in August. We're winning games right now. So from now till August is when you get bigger, faster, stronger, and hopefully put a team together.
Thank you, Coach Yost, for the insight. The wrestling team had a good season, finishing runner-up in their district and 7th overall at state, a slight decline from their 3rd place finish last year.
182-pounder wrestler Cade Brownlee repeated as state champion. Prep qualified 7 wrestlers for the state tournament this year.
Here's Coach Fisher on the wrestling team.
Would do pretty.
So what years did you wrestle for Creighton Prep?
2004 to 2008.
Can you describe what an average practice was like for you back then?
We had a really intense warm-up. Everyone would be drenched. Coach Hiff always said we had the hardest warm-up of anybody. It was harder than some practices. And then he'd start drilling. We'd drill on our feet, show a couple moves, and then we went live a lot. A lot of groups of 3, a lot of battling going on. So it was intense most of the time. Then towards the end of the week, we'd kind of take it easy before tournaments and make sure our weights were good.
Okay. Can you describe the wrestling team you were a part of, like the camaraderie and all that?
Yeah, the big thing we try to promote is family. Wrestling's unlike any other sports. Really, everyone goes through the hard practices. Everyone goes through the weight cutting, the difficulties, the injuries. So it really brings everyone together. So we become a family. It's the camaraderie is unlike any other sport I've played.
So if the two teams you're on, let's say your senior year, were in their primes, and then our team in their prime, who would win during a duel?
Oh, that'd be a great duel. I'd say it's a tough matchup. The heavier weights on our team this year. Okay, yeah, the heavier weights would definitely it'd be a matchup of kind of lightweights versus heavier weights. In the end, my junior year team would beat the team we have this year, but the senior year team, my senior year, would not beat the team we have this year. They would handle them pretty well. But that junior year team we had was pretty stacked, top to bottom. But this senior versus senior year, this team we have this year was solid. They would have smoked them.
Okay, so just for fun, recent two-timer Cody Hobbs versus current two-timer Cade Brownlee, who would win? Both of them being in their senior year.
I gotta go Cody Hobbs, my boy. You should have seen him in his prime. He was something else. Just his just determination and drive is unparalleled. I've never seen anything like it. It's kind of why he's a good coach too. So, I don't know Cade as well, just being the first year here. Cade is very technical, very good, but I think Cody Hobbs dominates on his feet, and I think he ends up pulling it out at the end.
Okay, thanks. Okay, what were the main differences and similarities to the team you wrestled on versus the team you're currently the head coach of?
Oh, the main differences, I coach it a little differently than, I'm different than the coach I wrestled for. So we actually focused more on top and bottom, our team this year, as opposed to when I was wrestling for HIF, he did on our feet almost exclusively. There wasn't a whole lot on top and bottom. Bottom, all he said was just stand up. So we've actually emphasized, I feel like, a little more top and bottom, which kind of helps our wrestlers be well-rounded, as opposed to HIF style was just take down, cut them, and then just stand up on bottom. So we've kind of developed a little more aggressiveness on top and showed more things on bottom for people to do.
Thank you, Coach Fisher, for your insight on prep wrestling.
Here's Coach Fife recalling his days of playing football at Creighton Prep and voicing his opinion on the new rules.
What years did you play football for prep?
So I graduated in 1999, so I would have played in the fall of 98, 97, 96, and 95 on varsity.
All right. How are the practices different back then compared to how they are now?
They were longer. That would be a big part of it. They usually were from, right after school, and I just remember them being longer, a lot more standing around. There was kind of, Coach Jaworski, one of the things that he was really good at is he could watch a field of 22 guys and know that the right tackle missed his block, the receiver was off, started early, the quarterback took the bad steps, and your linebacker filled the wrong hole. He could see the whole field. Where most coaches, myself, I'm looking at like 2-3 guys to focus in on, and so he did almost all the coaching. When we ran a play, he did most of the talking, so it's really kind of centered around him. I guess that would be one of the major differences.
What is your opinion on all the new rules with hitting practice time this past year?
I understand the rationale, what they're trying to achieve. The problem is it's a lot of training going on in a very short amount of time, and a lot of the places around the country that they're doing this in as well, they also have spring practice, and so they're able to kind of put some of this stuff into motion and practice how to do it in the spring, and then they apply it in the season. Well, we don't get that luxury. We have to teach them how to do these things while we're trying to win a game, in 2 weeks. And so it's one of those things where I think it'll be better, but what I tend to notice is early in the season especially, it leads to not as good a football, bad tackling, things like that. By the end of the year, the playoffs, people have kind of figured it out again. It'll be interesting what'll happen. Like these seniors have been doing quote unquote the old football way for 3 years, and now all of a sudden they only have 1 year. Well, the juniors now are going to be 2. By the time the freshmen are seniors, they're going to have 4 years of these light hitting rules. Really interested to see how they turn out. Maybe it's better. I would guess probably not. So.
Thank you, Coach Fife, for your insight on prep football.
The two coaches, Coach Yost and Fife, agreed on the fact that the new rules are good as far as player safety goes.
However, Coach Fife is skeptical that the current freshmen and future players will not have the toughness that current players have.
They also both agree that it is a challenge to start practicing later than schools that play year-round. Coach Yost stressed off-season workouts, and Coach Fife said that the later start means sloppier football in the beginning of the season.
And that is all we have time for today. We'd like to thank everyone that joined us to give their insights on prep athletics. And thank you for joining us on Riley and Leo's podcast.